Yeah, I think, as a young leader, you tend to get more interested in strategy, and you mentioned metrics and, those kind of things. And really, you can't do anything without the people. And, it has to be person-centered focus 100%. You better have really good friendship relationships with those people that you're leading. It doesn't mean that you won't have to make some hard decisions or those kind of things, but I think the thing that it took me the longest to learn, as soon as you can get and understand that everything goes better with people being your first focus, better things happen. Growing up as a kid, I did have an entrepreneurial experience. I was selling a TV digest door to door and picked up a route. At the time, I probably didn't think about it as a responsibility lesson, but it was fortunately just a once a week kind of delivery, not the daily newspaper route that you might hear from other people. But it did, on a certain day, I had those sent to our house. They'd come in a big package, and then I had specific places where I had to go. So I had to be organized. I had a list of who was paying me, and then of course, I guess in the true business sense, I had to do collections, and that was a once a month kind of thing. And people did mail checks to me and so forth, so my parents would have to help out on that because they didn't like the idea of me coming around seeking the $5 or whatever. It was a small amount for that service back then, and so I had to do a little bookkeeping. So I guess all kind of segments of entrepreneurial, hadn't thought about it that way, and I had it for about 3 years, and then actually gave it to somebody else. But it was probably my first time where I actually had to be responsible for something, and it involved financials, and it involved trying to grow your business and all of those kind of things, and I really enjoyed it. Looking back, and these are the great entrepreneurial lessons you learn, I just gave the route to somebody else when we moved out. I should have sold it to him, and again would have been able to monetize and have my quote first liquidity event around a sale. I've always been very goal oriented, whether it was scouting, where if I was going to be a Boy Scout, I'm going to be an Eagle Scout. So I went to University of Georgia my freshman year, and I had a chance to transfer to the University of Louisville to be the basketball manager. I was paying my own way through college, and they had a scholarship available, and just a classy group of coaches, Coach Denny Crum and Coach Bill Olson, who was the person responsible for getting me here to Louisville. And so I came to the University of Louisville, not realizing that step would lead me to this to be my home. And secondly, graduating from the University of Louisville and finding employment here. But that led me to my first healthcare venture with a local entrepreneur who had, at the time, a couple of skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, if you will. And that was kind of my entry into the healthcare arena. I wanted to be an owner. I wanted to be an equity owner. I saw the value in that. But we had an organization that needed to be recapped. And so I decided to raise the money and take the risk, if you will. And I guess that's entrepreneurial, but I never thought about it in that kind of way. And through a series of progressions of jobs, I ended up buying into a healthcare company, and then later bought that out, and with the help of Welsh Carson and Anderson Stowe up in New York. That led to that being a public company. And it was in that company down in Atlanta, which went public in 1996, that the genesis of Trilogy Health Services started. I had this idea to put together multiple levels of seniors housing and long-term or post-acute care in one model in a facility. And I pitched it to our board a couple times down there. And it involved business development. It involved risk, uncertain, no one had done this before. And I got turned down. You can almost certainly thank my wife, because she was the inspiration for me coming back to Louisville. She said, you travel a lot in your business. This isn't working for us being in Georgia. We're going to move back to Kentucky. And it was a wake-up call, because I think that sometimes as a young executive, you get your mission misaligned, and it really should always be your faith, your family, and then your work family. And I had those kind of out of line. So I went back to the board and said, hey, I'm moving back to Kentucky, and I'm going to start this company. And I don't need your capital. I'm going to raise my own capital and start Trilogy Health Services. And the plan started off, but again, in your typical entrepreneurial fashion, it didn't go as we planned. Had this conversation even at Trilogy in the early days, and one of our minority partners, we were all in a car riding together, and he said basically, we're screwed. this is bad news. And I said, I got to tell you the truth. This is like the Kobayashi Maru. And you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but this was a simulator at Star Trek that they used to take Captain Kirk with to design the Star Trek captain to fail. Well, he gamed the system and beat it. And I told that gentleman, I said, we're like the Kobayashi Maru. We're going to beat whatever the circumstances are. And that kind of became part of our culture. Anytime we got into a tough situation, they're like, okay, what would Captain Kirk do with the Kobayashi Maru? And so forth. But you face those in businesses, and you face those in life, right? And how you handle those and how you address those is mission critical. But one thing I certainly did discover is the sun came up the next morning, and we just went back after it. And I never let the darkest hour ever dominate and become a darker hour because of that. Even though you may be having a dark hour as a leader, and the business circumstances, the people that you're leading need to see you thinking you're going to make it. And I remember there was a time period in a capital-starved company, and Susan and I, and of course I'm a big believer, I'm always going to make it, right? But Susan and I broke ground on a new house. And about 6 months later, somebody came up to me and said, boy, when you did that, the fans, the employees were cheering. I said, what do you mean? We're just building a house. They go, no, that meant you had the confidence we were going to make it. And we were doubting whether you were going to get out of this capital, starved situation, whether the company was going to make it. And I was a wake-up call for Randy Leader to say, man, I better start communicating better. But it just tells me employees are watching everything. You never know what the journey's going to hold. And I think that would be a entrepreneurial lesson. I think every entrepreneur would say it never goes like you plan it. Okay, you can throw the 5-year plan out there, you can throw the capital stack or the strategy, but there's so many external factors. Everything in life is about learning and a journey, right? And I think what our true success as an organization, as a business leader, came when we understood the priority that our role in life was to help other people, not let businesses help us. Or, I don't know if I'm even saying that the right way, that, we are a purpose-driven organization. I've built up a reputation and a culture and organization of doing the right things because they're the right thing to do. And, we're proud of that. And that's something that keeps us going. Yeah, we got larger, okay, and we got bigger. But the other challenge there was, can you get larger and bigger and be better? And again, you mentioned metrics. By metrics, we can show we can. This award that I received was a very rewarding accomplishment, and I accepted it really on behalf of everybody who's helped me get here. And I sent out a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn, and obviously had a bunch of people in attendance because these are team awards, and that's how they come about. We entered Best Places to Work in Kentucky, and we were a smaller organization, and we won number one like 2 out of 3 years. In the very first year, we won Best Place to Work in Kentucky. In our category, our HR guy was like, wow, this is unbelievable, this is fabulous. And I was thinking, like, how do we top that? I think when you think about metrics, first of all, they're invaluable for any leader in business to have to help you run your business. I mean, the old adage, go with your gut, does have some value to it. I mean, there's some intuition that's involved in leadership and business, but boy, you better base that in something foundational, or over time, your gut can be influenced by even if the people around you are just telling everything's going great. We think about our metric buckets pretty simply because we think about our business pretty simply. We call it our flywheel to success, and it has 3 components to it. The first component of the flywheel is an employee-centric kind of servant leadership, and so the second component is customer related, and there's a lot of metrics around customers. And then that leads to our business component, and we think that they go in that order. You take great care of your people, they take great care of your customers, whatever that is, and then you get your financial results happen because of those happening in that order. And so if you think about a wheel turning clockwise in that order, you would see that happening. And in our business, it's our employees first, and then taking great care of our customers. And so we get up and we think about that. So we track metrics, we track scoring, we track retention rates, happiness, pulse surveys, you name it, we track it, we trend it. And we don't necessarily celebrate the number, we celebrate improvement in the number. Trying to keep things simple, even though it can be very complex, is how I do that. You have to stay very organized. You have to understand you can't spend time on things that are not adding value to your business or to your life in general and waste time. So When we think about our planning, we think about what all we do, we want to try to keep it simple. That's why, a Trilogy employee or a Synchrony employee who's been around a while, if you ask them how our business runs and they just say we take care of people so they can take care of customers and then good things happen in the business, they've got it. It's simple. Now our business is more complex than that. But if that keeps the focus on what's really important, so I would say those kind of things around focus, organization, and then just don't waste your time on things that aren't adding value to your employees, your customers, or your business. So employees, leaders, whoever it is, if you celebrate the things that are important on your metrics for the right reasons, consistent with whatever your culture is, that's how you lock it in. And so, if you think about it, and you said we have a broad range of businesses that we're involved in, they all share that same common theme. And then the leaders are all replicating those same habits. And that's kind of your insurance policy, that everybody focuses on the right things in the right order with the right cultural value. I think I attribute the density of healthcare and the healthcare operations here in Louisville and my career, because of that. I mean, this is a community that has nurtured and grown healthcare companies. And you only have to look at the Louisville Healthcare CEO Council now to see that in evidence. We got great things working for our community and our state here because of all the great companies like Humana, Atria, Signature, Bright Springs, and, Trilogy would be one of those. What I love about Kentucky, and I would span that just a little bit farther, is people. Just people are welcoming here. They're open to new ideas. They're open to collaboration. They're open to working together. It's a great place to do business. They want business to be here. I just think it's a welcoming place for business. And certainly I've been here since 1978, other than that short stint that I did down in Atlanta. And I've seen that. And I've seen, businesses take off and grow in big ways here. And if you're on that entrepreneurial journey, I think people are going to think about their business accomplishment that might be the best. And, I think I've got just, an incredible amount of faith that, I would count on first. And then obviously surrounded by just fabulous blessings in our family. To have that in your life is something that, I think should be a value for everybody. And by the way, there's value add. I mean, I'm hopefully adding them some value, but they're coming my way with value and support. And then around the business, absolutely, we had our heads down. All of a sudden, we got this company that we're so very proud of. And that's something to celebrate and say is success. But I think the relationships that I've been able to create and the services I've provided, whether it's to, first and foremost, our employees and the residents, that's my biggest success, is people will say, and when I'm dead and gone, he helped people out and he served people. And that's something that is important to me.